They are making a difference on 938 Live.
The base of the pyramid, or BOP, refers to the 4 billion people living in emerging economies. They are economically active as consumers, producers, employees, and entrepreneurs. At the same time, they represent a vast opportunity of more than $5 trillion US, and tapping it would also mean improving the lives of those who most need it. The inaugural BOP World Convention and Expo is coming to Singapore from the 28th to the 30th of August, and I caught up with one of the speakers, Jemima Sy, Senior Water and Sanitation Specialist of the Private Sector Development of the World Bank. So Jemima, let's start with what you think are some of the most exciting developments in BOP solutions for the World Bank.
Well, this is a really interesting question because the base of the pyramid discussion started off from a narrow perspective of multinational companies selling profitably to the poor. But today we know that that's not just about selling products, but it's delivering some kind of value to low-income customers that help them better their lives. So we see solutions on energy, on water, on food and health. And one of the solutions we are really excited about is harnessing the local private sector to serve the poor customers. So not multinationals, but the local companies.
I see.
I work with the Water and Sanitation program, and it's a partnership program by the World Bank. And our mission is to support the poor to gain access to water and sanitation services. And in the developing countries all over the world, we see that millions of people, not just the poor, already rely on the local private sector to meet their needs. So these could be water providers, businesses that install toilets and manufacture components. So if they're already there, we ask the question, how can we help drive more of this? And we launched the Domestic Private Sector Development Initiative in 2010. And so far we've seen rapid results. In the last 3 years, in 14 countries, we've tracked an exponential growth in this segment. We see at least, over 700 entrepreneurs actively engaged in the delivery of water and sanitation services. They've added 2 million people now with access to these improved services. And these are not big companies. These are tiny micro enterprises. And yet together, they have contributed an investment of over $30 million in the last 3 years in the sector. So we're very excited about this. And for governments with constrained budgets, seeking solutions to provide better services to their citizens, this is adding a solution in their toolbox that wasn't available before.
To hold a convention like this with so much discussion is really very different from actually executing the grunt work, though. In your view, which is more challenging, the formulas for the solutions that will be discussed at the convention or the actual solving?
It's a good question. You see, that's the easy part, the grunt work, because we just let the local private sector do all the grunt work. Well, kidding aside, I think there's some truth to that because, what we're doing is we've seen private sector trying to serve customers and try to keep them happy. And so our job in the World Bank is to understand what constrains their ability to do more of that. And so one of our theories is that for more poor people to afford services, the cost of delivering to them has to come down. And we believe this can happen through efficiency, scale, and innovation. And so these are the starting points of what we work on. If I can give an example, in the World Bank report, which incidentally I co-authored, called Tapping the Market, we looked at sanitation market constraints in different countries. And we found that a key barrier for people who do not have a toilet, and there's billions of people still in the world today without a toilet. One of the key barriers is really that they have to coordinate many inputs for them to have a toilet. They need advice, they need to buy different materials, they go to different people, they might have to save over a long time, they have to hire the labor, and so all of this costs them money. And so we thought, well, what can we do? So in a number of countries, we've started to introduce existing entrepreneurs to new business ideas, products that are lower cost but with more customer appeal. And we've also started to introduce them to each other so that they can come up with turnkey solutions. So, for example, we would bring an entrepreneur and a microfinance institution together so that the construction and financing can come together. And we also work with governments, to make sure that such kinds of programs are incubated or supported.
Now, Jemima, from where you stand, where are the biggest needs in the world for the areas that you're most concerned with?
Yeah, well, a lot has to be said and done about making the markets work for the poor. While we are seeing promising results compared to the market potential, I don't think we've even scratched the surface. So one part of this is continuing to support businesses that want to or are already serving low-income markets and lifting their constraints. I also see that another part of it is trying to make the voice of poor customers resonate more with suppliers so that they can innovate and develop new products and think of new ways of doing business that cater to these low-income market segments. In many developing countries, water and sanitation, they're typically seen to be public goods, and many of the suppliers see the government as their main customer. But wouldn't it be a game changer if instead of that, they see poor customers as their main target customers and try to innovate for them? And governments around the world using PPPs or maybe voucher systems have started to shift that discussion and that fact, where now suppliers are seeing directly low-income households as their customers rather than the government.
Jemima Sy, Senior Water and Sanitation Specialist of the Private Sector Development for the World Bank. She'll be here to speak at the inaugural Base of the Pyramid World Convention and Expo, which is happening from the 28th to the 30th of August at the ITE Central College, Singapore. To find out more about the event and how you can attend, visit bopworldconvention.org. Tomorrow, we'll be catching up with another speaker from the event, Jackie Duff, Global Strategic Project Director of Women's Economic Empowerment from the Coca-Cola Company. This has been They Are Making a Difference. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Daphne Lim.
They are making a difference on 938 Live.